Hey there, it's the Machine of Nonsense, episode 41, and we have made it to round 2 of the bracket of nonsense. 64 entered, 32 remain. I'm your host, Eric, joined as always by Kayla.
Hey.
And we got Mike on the pod today.
Hey.
And Tomas.
I fixed it.
Perfect timing. Oh, man.
Oh, Tomas with the video. Very nice. So, it's going to be the four of us. We have 32 contenders remaining in the bracket of nonsense. They have made it to round 2, and I'm going to tell you who they are. Leslie Knope, Mabel Pines, Walter Kovacs, Cliff Booth, Ahsoka Tano, Vegeta, Alucard, Big Boss, Tony Stark, Nathan Drake, Gollum, The Joker, Ben Wyatt, Phil Dunphy, Anton Chigurh, Joel Miller, Thanos, Lou Bloom, Tyrion Lannister, Yennefer, Ingrid Thorburn, Lilu Dallas, Undyne, The Undying, Sirius Black, Rust Cole, Ellen Ripley, Mare Sheehan, Mae Borowski, Tokashira Surumi, Arthur Morgan, Kratos, and George Costanza.
Hey.
Can't stand you.
Yeah.
So they fought hard. They made it to round 2, and we're going to make them fight a little bit harder because we're going to get this list of 32 down to 16. We're going to have 8 battles today on this episode and then 8 on the following episode to get it down to 16. You folks ready?
It's gonna be a blood.
Ready. I feel like this can be faster.
We'll see. We'll see.
Know.
Some of them will take a while. Yeah. Some of them I feel real good about, though.
Yeah, some of them some of them skirted through by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah.
So, Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec versus Mabel Pines from Gravity Falls. Not
Oof.
Gravity Rush, right? I was going to say Gravity Rush, but it's
Big time
I
rush.
played some of that.
so. If you're not aware from our earlier episodes, we love Leslie. She was a number 1 seed. Just a fount of positivity and glee. But in a lot of ways, so is Mabel Pines. Who wants to speak on Leslie's behalf?
I think anybody could do that, to be honest.
I
You
agree.
mentioned a few nice characteristics for Leslie Knope, but she's also human in the fact where she'll fall apart in situations that aren't that big of a deal. You know, she's very dramatic in the hot mess that she can be at times as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she's human in that regard. Like, she's surrounded by people who care about her and want to champion her and want to push her forward. She also struggles with the idea of like leaning on those people sometimes. But like the greater part of her character that I've enjoyed is like when she finally does need to lean on those characters. And we mentioned this before, like what makes that show so good is that it's the cast and how they work well together. But like Leslie is like the character. She is the driving
Mama bear.
force. None of these people's lives would have progressed forward the way they have if Leslie wasn't like the anchor that like kind of held them all down. And like to me, that's what makes her character so good. And like the fact that like she cares about everybody else other than herself, but like in spite of that, like she still gets like all the good shit too. Like she gets her Ben Wyatt. You know, she saves the city that she loves so dearly. You know, it's like, and you know, like, Pawnee's a trash town. It's like,
Yeah.
but she loves it so much, and she'll kick and scream and fight tooth and nail because she's just so proud of like the small little podunk town that she grew up in, and I don't know, man. She's just an amazing character. Like she's a champion of the people, and the people support her because of that, because it's genuine. So
Mike, I know you're a Mabel man, right?
Mabel May.
Oh yeah, yeah. Uh, Mabel shares a lot of the good qualities that Leslie has, but in a 10-year-old girl kind of thing. So imagine a 10-year-old version of Leslie in a way, without the political
Yeah.
parts of it. But she's just a ball of joy, and when all this crazy stuff is happening to her brother Dipper or to both of them or whatever, she's able to find the humor and the fun in all of it. And I love Mabel. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think she can hang here with the
Leslie,
Titan
no.
Leslie.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
tough.
man.
I love Mabel too, but like you guys said, like Leslie's she's gonna be a tough
Yeah.
one to beat here. Uh, I don't think Mabel's the one that's gonna do it. I know
Ooh.
Josh would probably put up a more fiery argument for her, but
Josh loves both of these characters too, though.
yeah, that would be tough for Josh to pick between these two, I think. But and it's tough for me too. But Leslie's just, I don't know. She's on a
She's
she's playing a whole other sport to Mabel.
She's playing a whole different sport.
So in regards to Mabel, and like you said, they're both just like extremely positive characters, but we do get to see Leslie kind of get knocked down at points throughout Parks and Rec. Does Mabel keep up on that high? Is she just like always positive no matter the situation?
No, not exactly. There's a whole episode where she gives up and she gives in, and she's like in this she's in a fake perfect world where anything she wants she gets, and she wants to stay, like she's fine with staying in that, and she, like, Dipper has to break her out of this spell pretty much. um so she has flaws, of course. Like, she's not just a you know perfect, like, ball of sunshine, but most of the time she is. She loves her pet pig Waddles, and she gains friends through this stay at her uncle's place this summer, and she has her own adventures of her own. It's not all just her palling around with Dipper. Uh, uh, she's a really strong character, but like I said, with Leslie, like, and even when Leslie loses her shit a little bit, she's doing it in the most Leslie way, where she thinks she's dunking on somebody, but it's just really just cute and precious. Like, even when she's
Yeah, she'll go to bat. She will fight if
Oh, yeah.
if she felt she needed to, and it would, like you said, just be in the most Leslie way.
The show does such a good job for you, like, wanting to, like, be in her corner too. It's like there's parts like around like season 3 where, like, she's struggling with the whole Ben thing, not being able to do it because of, like, she's so dedicated to the job and, like, not breaking the rules, and, like, she has to give up, like, she feels like she has to give up, like, this important part of, like, her own happiness. And,
Right.
like, during the whole entire time, like, I'm watching it, I was like, no, like, you need to be a Ben. It's but, like, I don't know, it's like, I love it. It's very human. As goofy as the show is, it conveys those emotions in a very, like, compelling way. Because it's usually not a very heavy show in a lot of regards, but, like, it's like you get to watch, like, the characters grow up. Like, I don't know, man. It's like, fucking love Leslie. Nope.
Right.
I love waffles.
see. the moments when you get to see Leslie win in Parks and Rec are just some of the most rewarding. Like, just like, yeah, I'm investing my time in this show, and this is why. Like, to see her come up on top, whether it's her relationship with Ben that keeps getting cut at the knees every time they're trying, or like her political career and things like that, or her battles with Jeremy Jam, like
Bobby Newport.
right, exactly. Like, just every single person in this town is against the best person in the town, and when she keeps rising to the occasion. It's great. It's great. Both of these shows are great. You should watch them, especially Gravity Falls. If you have young kids, check it out. Parks and Rec, everyone can watch it.
Best example of Leslie Knope is that centaur goddess painting.
Yeah. Forgot about that. Man, need to watch Parks again.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, there was a reason this section was called the Leslie Knope bracket, and she was a #1 seed. I think
Swangin'.
it's a tough break for anyone to go up against Leslie. She got Daniel Plainview in the first round, and beat another character who could have been a 1 seed. And I think she's up against a very similar character, but it's hard to beat Leslie, right?
Yeah. That's hard.
All right.
It's like boxing Tyson in his prime. It's not gonna go well.
Okay, so Leslie Knope beats Mabel Pines to go into round 3. The next matchup is probably the biggest swing from 2 immensely positive, happy characters to 2 just kind of pieces of shit, but really cool pieces of shit. We have Walter Kovacs from Watchmen, and we have Cliff Booth from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. 2 cool guys that are cool in completely different ways. But like I said, kind of 2 very challenging characters. I don't know. They both done some shit and seen some shit. So Walter, he won in round 1, I think in a lot of ways just by being completely dedicated to his mindset, his mantra of like how he sees the world. He sees the world as this kind of unending cesspool that needs to be just eradicated, and he knows how that's going to work. He has this moral code where he knows what's up, and he's going to fix things his way. So he's like the ultimate anti-hero. He in a lot of people's minds, Rorschach is this heroic character, and in the Watchmen TV series, he's even held up as this like almost a deity by an entire cult. But obviously very flawed, very angry man. Yeah, an evil cult. Are there like cults that you're like, yeah, that's a good cult? Like, that's
okay.
This one's
right.
real bad.
This one's a real bad cult. But Walter literally, we said it in the first round. He stands up to a god at one point in Watchmen, knowing full well he is not going to make it out. But he has the ultimate convictions behind him. So I know Cliffy B is your guy, Mike, but Kayla, I'm sure you could also speak on Cliff. So either any of you guys, take Cliff.
I mean, Cliff's not dealing with gods or the end of the world or anything like that. He's just living life, man. He's just riding the coattails of a once very famous friend of his, and But he's not bitter about any of that or of the sun coming down on that part of his life. He's riding out the end of it, and just going about his day, or days here in this movie. And man, you just want to be Cliff Booth. He's just so fucking cool. Like I on a recent rewatch, uh, just the final scene. He smokes a cigarette dipped in acid. And
Whoops
he's,
ass. Oh my gosh.
he's dealing with these fucking Mansonites fucking coming in with guns and shit and knives.
Another bad cult.
Yes, yes. He's taking down the cults, man. Thank you, Kayla. And he's like, and he dealt with these characters before at Spawn Ranch, and he's fucking, yeah, I recognize you. You were on a horsey. He's all freaked out, but he still has control of the situation, even though he's fucking tripping balls. And yeah, and the guy's pointing the gun. He's like, "I'm the devil, and I'm doing the devil's work." Cliff just, nah, I'm something stupider than that. He's able to have such a strong comedic presence in the movie and be a kick-ass, badass action, kind of thing.
With minimal lines. He doesn't say too much.
It's a lot of just Brad Pitt's gravitas and presence, and just he was like Cliff Booth. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't want any other actor to be Cliff. He just, man, like Steve McQueen, John Wayne, you name it, all rolled into one. Like, I don't know. He's just cool as fuck.
The name of the movie is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and like you were saying, like he's just this riding on the coattails of his once famous friend, and he's just like you said, he's just living his life in Hollywood. This is what life is like in Hollywood. It's, for both of them, it's like such a perfect
69.
title for both of their stories. It's fun. It's a life in Hollywood.
Yeah, you said, I think you said something about like you want to be Cliff Booth. I think that's the major difference between these two characters is I don't think any of us want to be Rorschach. But you know, I take Cliff's everything. Just I want to be Cliff.
Cliff is so fucking cool.
Cool car.
Boy.
You mentioned Spawn Ranch in an earlier scene in the movie, and I've seen every single Tarantino flick and a lot of other movies as well. And I don't know if, at least in recent memory, a scene has like scared me as much. I was like really afraid for Cliff in that scene in a movie that's not really like a horror movie at all. It's not meant to be a really scary movie. It's like a action comedy, and most of it. And honestly, it's like
that's Tarantino for you.
Yeah.
He's really good at shifting gears.
And I think it's some of his best work, just like the tension that's built, and Cliff is center in that. I think if it was someone else in that scene, because there's other like main characters or big characters in the movie, if it's someone other than Cliff in that situation, I maybe don't feel the same way. But I had already, like midway through that film, had such a connection to like Cliff that I was like, oh man, this dude's gonna fucking get ripped apart or something, and I'm gonna hate the rest of this movie. So I think that speaks volumes.
Tarantino is like just such a soothsayer of like his medium. Like nobody else can like really do a film like him.
He's got a very specific.
He's good at it too.
He's got a very style.
You guys made it like, Brad Pitt being like the perfect backdrop to this character. Like Tarantino's just got a real good knack of like writing parts for specific like actors and just making that shit work so well.
Yeah,
I I mean, I love Rorschach. Don't get me wrong.
He writes like the best supporting characters. Like
That too.
3 Oscar wins for his second fiddle kind of guys in his movies, and they're the ones that really stand out most of the time.
It's like I don't know if I'd want to live in Quentin Tarantino's universe, like, but it's so interesting, and it's like you love the characters. They're so grimy and gritty, but like you want to know more about them. Like I love Rorschach. Don't get me wrong. I love The Watchmen. Excellent movie. Excellent graphic novel. Alan Moore is one of my favorite writers. But I don't know.
Rorschach's cool too, man. He's like those action scenes in that movie when he's just kicking ass.
Oh yeah.
That prison riot scene when he just starts that huge fight,
Yep.
One of the best lines in that movie,
I'm
too.
not trapped inside of here with you. You're trapped inside of here with me.
It's real good. It's real good.
Yeah. And I love
he has all the best lines in that movie.
And just the ending, how his plan, to let the world know like what was going on, even though he knows he's gonna get fucking probably he doesn't know what's exactly gonna happen to him, but he just gets vaporized, at one point. And
not even in the face of Armageddon. No compromise.
It's cool, but I think Cliff would handle himself in that way too. Like I don't know if he was in that situation with Doc Manhattan. So
he'd be high, but yeah, other than that, it's pretty much the same.
I think he'd get his way out of it. Honestly, I mean, if he could make his way through a movie set full of teenage girls, like then. He can take on a god.
Oh, God.
All right. So are we calling it for Cliff in this situation?
I mean, it's closer than maybe we let on for me at least, but
Yeah.
I gotta go Cliff. I love Cliff.
I'm Cliff.
I'm still gonna go Walter, but I figure it's leaning Cliff.
Wow. Okay. So I guess technically I haven't weighed in.
Voted yet.
I haven't.
The arc. What's your take?
Yeah, we gotta ask the arc. I think I'm gonna put, and I said it before, I'm gonna put it down to I'd like to be Cliff Booth. I would not like to be Walter Kovacs / Rorschach. I wouldn't. Even like the world that he lives in, like the world of the Watchmen. I would not want to be in that world. Whereas the version of Hollywood from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I'm into it. I could do that.
Yeah, this movie, and Once Upon doesn't really fit in with the bleakness of Pulp Fiction and Bastards and stuff like that. So it really is kind of a fairy tale from Quentin, and Cliff's the hero of it.
Well, Cliff beat Bruce Lee, and now he's beaten Walter Kovacs.
Oof.
So Cliff Booth making it to round 3.
So he's Dr. Manhattan.
Well, we'll see if maybe in the next bracket of nonsense we'll have Cliff up against Dr. Manhattan at some point. Oh boy. All right, next matchup. Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars The Clone Wars versus Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z.
Gotta put my best Widow's Peak up.
It's a fun one. We've said a lot about the parallels between Ahsoka Tano and Jolie Bindo, another member of the bracket of nonsense. Both gray Jedis, both everything you know about Jedis, cool lightsaber stuff, the Force, everything, the whole Star Wars package, but willing to kind of go their own way and not stick with the Jedi Council and stick with the old rules and the kind of dogmatic relationship that the Jedi have with the galaxy, and all that. So Ahsoka, really complex character in terms of Star Wars, which is often kind of underwritten. We could all say. Ahsoka Tano is definitely not. She is a complex character who goes through a lot. We get to see her. I think there were 8 seasons of the Clone Wars, so we get to see her maybe as much as any character in Star Wars lore. And we're continuing to, because she's she's going to have, I think, her own show, and she was featured in The Mandalorian, and so it's obviously a character that Star Wars fans really care about, and just important in Star Wars lore. And then there's Vegeta. Who would like to speak on Vegeta's behalf?
Well, that was my character.
Do it.
I mean,
Vegeta.
I mean, Vegeta was like always kind of like my dude. One, he's short, so it's already kind of like drawn to him as a character. Say what you will about the rest of the characters in Dragon Ball Z. Goku sucks. He's a horrible father. Everybody else sucks. But Vegeta, like, Dragon Ball Z was really good at like taking a bad character and then making him the character that you love most. Like, Vegeta actually has a character. Like Goku is this bland, always taking off. All I want to do is fight, fight, fight. And like Vegeta is like this guy who's born into like, he's the prince of his race. And so he's like already like he's born with like, a silver spoon in his hands. And then he runs into this like country bumpkin Saiyan dude who's like who just excels at fighting. Like he's just good at like getting better, and like he's like not even like stronger than him like when he first meets, because like Goku manages to hold him off, and he's like from that point he's like constantly in this shadow of like this person, and like he uses this motivation to like try to get himself better, try to become stronger. And like throughout the whole entire like thing, like he has this like idea of like his goal in life is to be better than Goku. But like in the process, like, he becomes like just a better person by proxy too. Like, he ends up falling in love. He ends up having he has a son, he has a family, but like he's still got like this burning like desire to be better, even if for a moment, like to the point where like during the Boo saga he like allows himself to get control, to become a little bit stronger, just so he can have that one fight with him. And it's like he's almost willing to like sacrifice everything that he built up to that point just for that one moment. And then like even like towards the end of that, like they're fighting Majin Buu, and he's like, it's like, he's not a scumbag. He's flawed. He's like definitely got a lot of fucking issues. He's obsessed with like a lot of the wrong things. But like even in the long run, he's like realizes that like, maybe this is just who I am. Maybe I'll never be better. And like he's willing to like sacrifice his own life for the sake of the planet, for the sake of his family. And this is coming from a guy who originally showed up and he's like, I'm just gonna blow up your fucking planet, and I'm gonna steal some Dragon Balls and become immortal. And then all of a sudden, he becomes like this more like intricate character. He's just like so much better than Goku. Fucking like just as a person, he's a better father. He's got more character. Yeah, I don't know. I fucking love Vegeta. He's just an interesting character. His pride always leads him to like do stupid shit, but like I don't know, man. He's just a really cool dude, and like he's a flawed character. And it sounds like Ahsoka, she's gone through some shit too. I was gonna say like at the top of her character that space politics suck. Like she's like deals with the huge brunt of that, and like she has to become a different person, like not necessarily by choice as well. So I feel like they're kind of similar in regard.
The thing that I think is simplest about Ahsoka is that like she just ultimately tries in everything she can to do the right thing. Like no matter like she just wants to help people and do the right thing. Oh, it'll cost us too much money or whatever they say, because she's a commander in the Clone Wars. Uh, she just always wants to do whatever it takes to help the people.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's what makes her disagree with the order and leave.
She's she tries to take the high road in a very utilitarianistic kind of society. Like people are like cost rewards kind of mentality, and she rather forego costs in order to do the right thing.
Yeah, she's one of the only Jedi that seems to even care about the clones, like treats them as actual,
Like
human
people.
beings. You're right, exactly.
Yeah,
You
she
know,
rescues Rex, like one of the main clones, and then that
Or not, Rex?
proceeds to rescue a few clones that get to survive and don't enact Order 66.
Yeah.
yeah, she's like one of the only characters that gets to, you kind of get to see Anakin's fall through her in a different light. So it definitely frames all of that differently than we've gotten to see from in the movies. We get to see Anakin's point of view, and we've already kind of had that fight of how like poorly that was done in a lot of ways. But in the Clone Wars, I think pretty much everyone does agree that it's the way it should have been. It's the way that like how everything should have been framed. How it gets to the depth of Anakin's character, and without having Ahsoka there to act as kind of like the point of view character for the audience. I think I think she did a lot to reframe Anakin and reframe just like kind of the story of Star Wars. I think, for a lot of people it was getting very stale,
Yeah.
especially in the movies and everything, and Clone Wars was a breath of fresh air for the entire series, and I think it's led to some good changes going forward as well.
I think
And
she's made appearances in Clone Wars, Rebels, and in The Mandalorian.
I think you're right. Yeah. So she's almost like potentially. It seems like they're framing her as one of the new like stars going forward. Outside of the Skywalker clan and everything.
Yeah, I liked there was how Rosario Dawson portrayed the character so far in The Mandalorian. That's the only kind of taste that I've had, and she was really cool.
They should have
Dual
taken that thing.
sabers, they're so cool.
They should have taken this thing away from Lucas a long time ago.
Yeah,
Like,
you're right. But
I don't think
Baloney.
anyone says no to that.
Vegeta for me is just so important, shaping personally, like just the anti-hero for me, like that. I love a good anti-hero, and for me, Vegeta was the first one because you watch the show and he's the big bad for a while, and he has this great fight with Goku, and you hate the guy, you're oh man, fuck, Goku needs to fucking whip this dude's ass, and then but you think, well, okay, he defeated him, he's gone, but he keeps coming back into the story, and he's now talking to other character, and you're like, okay, well, this guy seems all right actually, and he grew to become my favorite character of the show.
oh yeah. I think like the huge turning point is during the Frieza saga when Goku shows up out of his healing pod, and like Vegeta just got his ass whooped because he thought he was a Super Saiyan for like the 10th time during that story arc.
Yeah.
And he lays it all out there for Goku. He's like, it's like, this is what happened. This is what this son of a bitch did to our people, to our race. They enslaved me as a child. They made me kill people. It was like, and it's like it sheds a new light on his character because like he never really had a choice to be anything other than what he was.
Yeah.
So he's not necessarily just this like I want to kill people because it's fun. He's like, I didn't really have a choice in the matter. It was either that or all of my people die. And, it's like, yes, they're warfaring in like kind of race, but like even then, like, they had a gun pointed to the back of their head and, Frieza killed all of them. And then like, and then Frieza kills him right in front of Goku. And on top of that, like I said, and through it all, he builds a family, and he becomes a different person. And he's flawed in a lot of ways. His pride almost gets the world killed like a million times over in that series. Like when he's fighting Cell, and he could have just like killed him at second form. And he's like, Cell's like, I can be better. He's like, all right. And it was like, I'll take some of that big dick energy. But that leads to some of his, greatest moments too.
And I know you said he's got the most colors on his palette compared to everyone else in the show, but still kind of a thin palette, probably compared to Ahsoka and what's going on.
Oh yeah, it's a shonen manga.
Yeah, it's not,
It's a soft spot character because
for sure
we grew up with him. Because like if we got Dragon Ball before we got Dragon Ball Z, Piccolo may have been the character for this. But like I didn't understand why Piccolo was a bad guy when I first saw him. Although like the story arc, like when he like grows into a character, when he becomes Gohan's stepdad, like and he like sacrifices himself to save Gohan versus Nappa. Like I fucking cried when I saw that scene as a kid. Like it's like the regular like happy-go-lucky I'm a superhero characters. They're that's not what Dragon Ball Z is about for me. It's like I like to see the damaged, flawed characters kind of redeem themselves because like I said, it's a shonen manga, anime. Characters are,
Wild.
dime a dozen. It's like,
and every anime I watched after that, I always leaned towards the kind of Vegeta mold, Hiei or Shishomaru and Inuyasha or something like that.
Well, I think that's why, like, even with Yu Yu Hakusho, like all the characters are like that. All the good guys are, like they're not perfect. Urameshi is, outcast, kid who's like given a chance at like becoming something better. But now I'm talking about a bunch of other shows. So but he's a bit of an archetype for that kind of thing too. So
yeah. By far, Vegeta is my favorite character on Dragon Ball Z. I don't even think it really comes close in a show with dozens of cool characters. Like I think Vegeta, it may be a shallow palette or a palette without like that many colors, but like out of anyone, he definitely goes on the biggest like journey, the biggest like change of characterization and everything else. I think, at least in my opinion.
Right, quick question:
as that goes.
Favorite bad guy, Dragon Ball Z?
Cell.
Yes.
Yeah, probably Cell's great.
I got nothing.
There we go. If we got anything out of this bracket, it was that.
I mean, I guess if you allow me to have Vegeta, I'd say Vegeta, but and to me, that's what dings him a bit in this is he goes back to those same. It's kind of like with Ellie when we were discussing Ellie in the first round. Like there's just decisions made kind of over and over again that you're just like, come on, man. I thought we were over this. Like I thought we were done with the whole rivalry thing, and like you were gonna finally put like your own pettiness, your own pride. We always talk about Vegeta's pride and everything. I thought you were gonna like finally put it behind you and fully good, fully be the good guy to save the day. And nah, man. Like,
feel like that's the choice he makes.
Yeah, it's like a broken record in a lot of ways, and like it does.
It's all about choices.
Were you watching the same anime, bro?
it grates on me at points where, like, I guess, like, you brought up the Boo saga,
Yeah.
Tomas. That would be like a big point there where, like, all right, I thought we're fully in. Okay, we got a tournament. We got Goku and Vegeta. Cool. It's just we're gonna do this, and then he like makes the decision to go somewhat full bad. Like he just murders people and stuff
Yeah, I
again.
mean,
Like and it's like, come on, man. I thought we were
Yeah,
done with
it's
this. Like, come on.
like, we're dealing with shit now, man.
Right.
when Goku's the voice of reason and all of this,
Right.
something's going off the rails.
But I mean, I love him. I love Vegeta. Like I
absolutely.
said, he like blows anyone out of the water. Maybe Piccolo is like a somewhat close number 2.
He's
but
a close
like,
second, definitely.
yeah. But I mean,
Head
it's
of the
still
year.
Vegeta, And I do want to note, you had the opportunity to say that Frieza had a Gallic gun to the Saiyan's head, but you didn't. And I think that speaks to
They were pulling out some
know,
dirty fireworks on
yeah.
me.
So I think Ahsoka wins, is what I'm saying.
Take it to a vote, right? Are we ready?
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
I just got hit with the final Revenger.
Ooh, ouch. Tomas, you went to bat for Vegeta like very eloquently, very well. I hats off to you.
I knew it was going to be a tough one.
But the argument for Ahsoka is really strong, and the point that really won it for me, Eric made, was just how thin kind of the story for these characters in Star Wars is overall, and then having a character that's actually a character in
Yes.
Star Wars, and being she has a different point of view on these moments that were bad in the movies, that she can actually kind of, they're done well. I'd actually would want to check them someday. So,
Oh yeah.
My vote's for Ahsoka.
Well, I picked Vegeta, so I'm picking Vegeta. But you guys made an excellent argument. Like I said, I never take away from any of the arguments you guys made. But I brought Vegeta to the dance. I got to stand with him at the punch bowl.
And I will also happily stand beside my Broughton character, Ahsoka.
Well, your date looks better in her dress than mine. So
She's got great armor. But yeah, I'm going Ahsoka too. Just because I said with Vegeta, he just makes some choices that I shake my head at, multiple times, and I don't remember Ahsoka doing that. Like, I feel like Kayla said, she's always trying her best to just do the most for the most people, no matter what. So, she's just a positive character in that sense.
and she does that in spite of being like a character in such a shit universe.
Yes.
such shit politics, and like everybody sucks in Star Wars, man. Like the
True
Jedi
that.
suck. The fucking whatever the I don't even know, like the Republic or like whatever, like all the politics of that like fucking
suck.
universe are awful.
Trade wars, man. Trade wars. So okay, Ahsoka going to round 3 over Vegeta, but
Going to the dance.
yeah. But pour one out for Vegeta because he's a real
Absolutely.
OG.
He the biggest OG.
Here's a fun one.
These
Two
are both of my characters, guys.
two men of few
Gotta pick
words. Well, one's a man and one's a half man. But
Racist.
we have we have Alucard from Castlevania, and we have Big Boss from Metal Gear Solid.
Ugh.
Ugh.
So
I don't. I'm not gonna. Well, who can speak for Alucard other than me? Mike, can you handle both of these, because these are both of my characters. I don't really want to make an argument for both of them.
Sure, I could speak for at least one. But I could speak for both. Sure.
Well, I like both of them. This is a very hard decision for me. So
I feel yeah, it's tough for me
Yeah.
too.
Well,
Alucard,
actually, no,
so
wait. What's Big Boss me? No, I think that was you.
Oh, you did Boss.
I
That's
did
right.
the
Right.
boss.
So you do
Okay.
Alucard, I'll do Big
I'll
Boss.
do
Duh.
Alucard and then okay.
Yeah.
I'm just Big Boss and the Boss are like my favorite characters in the Metal Gear Solid
Yeah.
series. So like they're all mine.
God, if we could have added Bruce Springsteen to this bracket, it would have been just.
Oh,
I'm like
man.
thinking back, we should have put Paul Rudd on here. It's like, he's the immortal.
Is
All right, Alucard. Not as much source material on this character as Big Boss either. So. But yeah, I picked the anime version of Alucard. So yeah, I was like, I don't know, man. It's like I like his character. He's brooding. He's it's like he's like kind of like he's like this character where it's like he's half human and he's half vampire. He's like this like thing that should not be. Like when you ultimately think about it. And he's like, he's struggling with this idea that like, he probably shouldn't even like exist in this world. His mother was killed by religious zealots, and like his father's on like this tyrannical rampage to kill all humans. And it's like, and he's struggling with this idea. It's like that's not what his mother would want. And he's got this idea that like, at first he takes a point of neutrality. It's like I'm not gonna deal with it. It's not my problem. I'm not gonna I'm staying out of it. Big bad Vlad, and do your thing. Mom's dead. There's no bringing her back. And then he's stumbled upon by Sypha and Trevor, and it's like he kind of like pulls his head out of his ass a little bit. He's like, all right, well, Dad's on a warpath. I kind of got to do something about it. And, it's like he ultimately ends up having to fight his father, and he ultimately has to, end up killing him. He's this tragic hero, as are many of the people on this bracket. And, but it's like one of the scenes that like really stood out to me in that anime is like when he's fighting his dad, and he's slamming him all throughout the whole entire castle, just wrecking shit, beating the fuck out of Alucard, and then all of a sudden he slams him into his bedroom, and like Dracula has this moment of clarity, and he looks, he's like, oh my god, it's like my son, my baby. He's like, it's like, what am I doing? And it's like. And of course, they kill Vlad, and it's like it's sad because like his father has this moment of clarity, but like he knows that like like this has to end.
that's his
Too late.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, and then on top of that, it's like, okay, well, it's like I had this meaning for like a moment, so like stop Dad. It's like, what do I got now? So like, the next part of his character is just like discovering, it's like, what the fuck do I do with myself? It's like I got this giant castle, I got this Belmont warehouse. It's like the only two people that I know and semi get along with are going on a journey to like take out the rest of the big bads in the countryside. I am all alone. I am a half vampire, half human, and it's like it shows. Like, even though he's half vampire, he's still very human. Like, he's lonely. He misses, his friends.
He's
he
going crazy.
He has little puppets of them. He drinks a lot of wine. A lot of wine. And, it's like, and through it, he's like, he gets betrayed too by, like, the first, like, two people that he, like, tries to trust. But, like, ultimately, he gets through it. And, he's reunited with Sypha and Trevor. He meets like this other like badass lady who's like trying to protect the village. It's like, and it's just like it's a process of a character like trying to find meaning in his life. After it's like he had this purpose and now it's done. It's like, what do I do with myself? And it's like ultimately, they help, kill death, and and then he becomes like, this kind of like he takes on this village, and it's like
He shares
it's cool.
his
It's like,
wealth.
yeah, he shares his wealth, his knowledge, and he's like he passes on all this shit like to the next generation to like hopefully this shit doesn't happen again. And it's just, to me, like, Alucard was, like, literally just, like, this, like, he comes from such, like, a medium of, like, the video game, like, literally, like, Castlevania 3, it's like, if you didn't read the booklet, you didn't know who the fuck Alucard was. It was like, so you just find characters throughout the journey. And, you know, and then Symphony of the Night came out, and I still didn't know who the fuck he was. But, like, there's a little bit more of a story back there. You know, you get a little bit of a backdrop, and they drop little hints of, like, oh, you helped my ancestors fight, you know, Dracula. But, like, even with, like, Symphony of the Night, I was, you know, like, instantly enthralled with this idea of, like, you know, Dracula had a kid. You know, it's like, and it's like,
Half
it was,
human.
like, the thing that's always fascinated me about, like, Castlevania is just, like, it's like, there's just, they give you so much with so little. You know, like, I can still play Symphony of the Night to this day, and, like, I love the way, like, the castle was portrayed. You know, just, like, I don't know, man. So, like, I bought that game, like, 8 times in, like, 8 different mediums. Like, and, like,
Same.
it's like, I fucking love this character. You know, it's like, and I was so happy, like, that he was given so much more than just those 2 games, like, of a character. You know, it's like, it was fleshed out, and I feel like they did a really good job of, you know, portraying this character. You know, this half vampire like individual growing up in you know, in this fucked up world. And I don't know, man. It's fucking Castlevania's fucking lit, bro. It's like the only thing Konami's done right in the past few years. So, and oh yeah, I just noticed that. You know, it's like we're dealing with 2 Konami IPs here.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
so,
Yeah.
come on, swinging. I love Big Boss too.
Yeah, you know, we struggled with the boss fight, you know, her story and how tragic that ends. And then Big Boss has to live on with that. You know, he has to kill the only person he loves in the world, and then he's celebrated for it. Even though he knows it was not the wrong thing to do, but it definitely wasn't the right thing. And he's kind of driven by that to become, you know, kind of a terrible villain towards the end. But it's interesting just how strong he sticks to his guns, and after that betrayal, he's wanting to just do the opposite of what the U.S. government and military are and symbolize.
Yeah,
and he just wants to become something not just pure, just a soldier. If you're a soldier, you're a soldier, and you can come here and do what you feel like you need to do. You're not just going to be gobbled up and spit out by this system like it has over and over again. You can come here and be part of a family and still, you know, have a purpose.
yeah.
And it's kind of it's tragic as well, you know, because he's eventually killed by his own son.
His own Terry.
Right, he's fucking has to go through. He goes through huge hoops to convince the world that he's dead, and
Extremely huge.
and does some very elaborate things to convince, you know, like literally transplanting his face onto someone else and convincing this person that he is him, if that makes sense.
Full circle, man.
Metal Gear is fucking crazy and wonderful,
nuts.
great. And yeah, Big Boss is just awesome.
I feel so many of these matchups have been serendipitous in a way. Like Alucard, his biggest, like, you know, defining trait is that he has to kill his father, Dracula. Big Boss's kind of one of his most defining traits is he had to kill his, let's call her his mother, like the boss.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like his his father figure, whatever you want to say, like, and then yes, his son,
matricide.
right? Yeah, his clone, his son, like has to kill him. Like it's so wild how these matchups kind of fell into place in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And just to speak on, I've got much longer relationship with Big Boss. I played all the Metal Gear games and everything, so I feel like I know him pretty well. I was never played a Castlevania, and then watched the show, watched the anime on Netflix, and like had no previous relationship to Alucard, but just real cool. Like just like blew me away in terms of like, man, if I could force myself to sit down and play like Symphony of the Night or something, like
Good.
I would just want to do it to be with this character more often, and hopefully, like, because he's a vampire, we'll get to see him in future Castlevania things. We'll see. I know they're doing time stuff, time pushing time forward, so we'll see. But
very, very early in the Machine of Nonsense life, we've had discussions about video game portrayals in other medias, like movies and TV shows. And granted, I never played Castlevania, but just to know that it was based on a video game, it's a masterpiece. It's so good. I loved it.
Yeah.
Coming from we grew up in a generation where like they just no matter how many times you threw the fucking dart at the board for video game mediums going into like movies or TV or whatever, like it never stuck. Like
never was good.
No, and yeah, no, you make a really good point. Like that's it's like, and they do plan on making a Metal Gear movie.
Sure.
That's a tall fucking order for that like series though. Like it's fucking. I mean, it's Hideo Kojima. Like I think this like the reason I love those games so much is because like I think they could only be told, the stories can only be told in that kind of a medium. Like you're talking like 20 plus hours of like just, it's like these are very story driven games. Like yeah, you sneak, you run, you fight a boss here and there, but like, I play those games for like the madness that is Kojima's like headcanon that is the world and like politics, and he does it so well. I don't know if you can do that in 2.5 hours. It's like it would be a tall fucking order. Maybe they can do like Metal Gear, like the first one for the MSX. But like I love both of these characters. Like absolutely.
Me too.
I wanted to step up for Big Boss a little bit, so I know Eric. You always give the ideas like he goes off the rails. He's he becomes a villain. But like those first like couple Metal Gear games, like regardless of how like simple they are, and even for the time that they were made, they're it's like he was doing this thing that was like never done before in the medium of video games, and but like it's like and like all the bosses you fight in those early games, especially Metal Gear 2, like they tell you like why they're doing what they're doing. Like their countries had betrayed them, they left them for dead after the first game. Not Zanzibar Land. What is it? What's
Outer Heaven?
Outer Heaven. Yeah, when Outer Heaven gets blown up and like it's like, and Snake is like unaware of like any of this shit happening. Like the government came in and they tried to clean house, and like a lot of those people, like even like the refugees that you had originally want to go in and save, were like left for dead by their own countries. And Big Boss, scooped up and he took these people in and he gave them a place and he gave them a meaning. Like when they're like the same thing that happened to Big Boss and Metal Gear Solid 3, like happened to these people. So like he had like all the right intentions in the world of like just trying to create like this like I guess society, Zanzibar Land. And fun little fact, Zanzibar Land celebrates United States Thanksgiving.
Okay,
but,
sure.
but
So Big Boss is the winner.
yeah, but
I mean,
but no, it's like he's a very tragic character, and he goes off the rails. But like, I mean, just like I said, everybody else on this list pretty much is like, it seemed like a lot of us are drawn to that kind of character because it's more realistic. Who is without their flaws, who is perfect in any
life's hard,
regard.
man.
Life's hard, man. Like, speaking of which, I watched the first 3 episodes of Mare of Easttown.
Oh,
My
nice.
God. Like,
It's good,
I
man.
had to take a break yesterday. I was like, oh my God. I was like
It was
this.
rough.
Well, I mean, it's heavy and it deals
Right,
with a lot.
right. That's
Yeah.
what I mean. It's rough
Well, and it deals with
material.
a lot of real shit.
Yeah.
Shit that like I see, but
Right.
no, man, it's like I love both of these characters. I used to love Konami.
I want to say, in regards to or in defense of Big Boss, on just a level of complexity, and I think Mike mentioned it, and probably Tomas did as well. Like the story in Metal Gear is ridiculous. It's so twisty turny and everything else. But like Big Boss is kind of in the center of it at all times.
Oh yeah.
So he is compared to Vampire Hamlet, which is like Alucard. Definitely Big Boss has a lot more complexity to his character and just his story arc and everything else. Like regardless of the just ridiculous nature of the Metal Gear story, it is uniquely complex in that sense. It's one of those we just get to see so much more of Big Boss, or even just like the events around Big Boss, than we ever do with Alucard. And I did want to mention one other thing about for Big Boss's battle here. He never gives up, to the best recollection. Like he sticks to his guns, and he I find it kind of a flawed mentality, and I feel like he makes some mistakes, but he sticks to it. He keeps trying to save the people that he feels need saving, and to fight the governments, and to reshape the world in the way that he feels it should be, the way that the boss would have wanted. Alucard at multiple points does kind of seem to give up. Like he doesn't, like he loses his direction and kind of needs other people to push him in a direction, one way or another. So I guess you could see that either way, but I find that to be a positive in Big Boss's favor.
Yeah, I don't think either side of that is wrong. Both can drive a narrative in both like good directions. The one thing I want to say about the twistiness of Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear is that they definitely circled that square. You kill Big Boss in the first 2 games, and Metal Gear Solid 5 finally rectified that flaw in the timeline.
Sure they did. Sure they did, Tomas.
Kojima knew it all before he finished the game. He knew it.
Yeah, I think him and George Lucas sat down and had many many conversations.
Yo, punish Snake. That was it, man.
Metal Gear Solid 5 was really fun to play. Okay,
Absolutely was. I just loved how it felt to run in that game. Like,
everything felt great.
The camera movement when you run, I felt like I was hitting the ground with every step. It's like, dut, 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 dut. Fuck riding horses.
So this one's close in my mind. Does anyone have any, before we get to voting, any other points that we haven't gotten to?
Back, forward, half circle back, forward, square, soul steel. Just took all of your guys' lives.
I don't know that move in Metal Gear, but I'll try it, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, I think I convinced myself that I want to go Big Boss on this one. I don't even know if I like Big Boss, but I
Yeah,
like
You
that
love him.
you guys like Big
You
Boss.
love him. You love that series.
I love the series. I do. I love Metal Gear. I really do, but I don't know that I like Big Boss, but I don't know.
This is so hard. Alucard's my character, so I'm obviously picking him. I already lost the boss.
Oh, I'm.
This is so far. This is the hardest one for me. And it sucked so bad for me that like Mike and I had to be on the opposite side of brackets like twice for characters that I love, and that he loves too. It's like it was so
Yeah.
hard. Like I had to look across the playground at you in like disdain when you had to fight against the boss.
Well, I love Alucard, so
Alucard.
I am voting for Alucard. He's got a cool ass weapon too. I don't think we really
Mm.
talked about his weapon.
It's the Alucard sword.
Man, we're at a tie here, huh?
We are
You're going Big Boss, Mike?
this character.
Well, he doesn't
I
have to
think
go.
I think Big Boss just has more going on so far. I'd love to see more of Alucard. I hope he gets to team up with Richter and whatever the next Castlevania thing is. That's the thing about Alucard is he's kind of like immortal, so he can just Castlevania
Yeah.
jumps timelines a lot, and he's able to
To
be
do it.
to be a part of that.
Sounds like a
Kind of
cool
makes
thing.
sense.
Ooh.
Man. So maybe that's a good point in
Like,
like we've
really-
kind of seen Big Boss fully. I don't think I want to see any more Big Boss. Although
Well, the
I
story's
don't know.
done.
I want more Metal Gear. I don't know. I'm running in myself in circles here.
Yeah,
We could always
I think this one falls on Eric.
flip a coin.
man. I don't know if what do we do? Do we post this one on the Facebook page
Oh.
or something?
Well, we
and
could do
have
that.
them-
That's
have
kind
them
of
You can do
fun.
that
flip it?
too.
all right.
I think that would be fun.
Let's do that. Alucard versus Big Boss will be left up to the fans.
I like that.
I
I
like
can
it.
live with that.
Done deal. So
Yeah.
that leads us to
Mhm.
our next matchup. That's fun. I like that idea. Tony Stark from the MCU versus Nathan Drake from the Uncharted series.
Oh
Wow.
man,
wow.
Yeah, man. We
Um,
got some slam fest.
this
stuff
is the
in
next.
there.
This is the next bracket, by the next
This
part. Like
is exactly. This was the Tony Stark section, the Tony Stark bracket. So he was a 1 seed. Nathan Drake beat Hank Scorpio in the first round, I think, by a narrow margin. That was a fun fight there. And Tony Stark, came up against Amy Dunn, and that was a fun conversation too, because
Yeah.
Amy something.
yeah,
Tony, I think Tony was also a double up, right? Me and Mike both went Tony
Yeah.
Stark.
I had
Yeah.
Tony.
Oh God, did
You
everyone
did
have
not.
Tony?
You're Nathan Drake. I thought.
Oh well, that makes sense.
I
That makes
think-
sense.
I'm pretty sure
I just
you wanted-
appreciate Tony.
They're
Right.
both excellent characters.
Well, Kayla, did you want to start on Tony?
I think I had both Tony and Nate in my bracket. Tony Stark is. Eric and I talk about Tony Stark a lot, actually.
Oh, that's
And-
out of the bag.
I think that, and I probably already said this in his first round. Like Tony's superpower is just that he's fucking brave. Like, sure, he's got some serious armor that he wears now that he made with his genius mind and all his money, but he's just like, he's got swagger. He goes up to those aliens and is like, "Earth is closed today. You can't come." Nah. Like he just holds his hand up and is a leader. Questionable at times, but choices aren't always easy. He's scared. He loves these people now, where he was a very unattached person. He has developed relationships with all of these people, and he doesn't want to outwardly let everybody know that he cares about them, but he does. He does everything for the people around him.
yeah. Tony is throughout the whole Infinity Saga. it's just so fun to see that journey that he takes from being, playboy billionaire, doesn't give a fuck about anything, to, having what he thought was everything, and then really at the end knowing like, okay, this group of people, this family that I've made, this is what really matters, and I have to give it up for
matters enough
to save everything,
to
and
give up everything to save everything.
Right.
It's
and I think like in the 10 years, whatever from now, like in an Oscar montage, there's gonna be Tony Stark moments in that kind of thing, like
Yeah.
it's just movies, man. Like it's movie magic what they did with Tony Stark, and he's just fantastic.
And I'm like, we talked about Quentin Tarantino earlier writing the perfect characters for certain actors. This obviously didn't necessarily happen that way because Iron Man existed long before Robert Downey Jr., but Robert Downey Jr. is like the perfect person to play Tony Stark. It's like so well done.
Yeah, almost Tom Cruise. Like that was the studio's initial thought was Tom Cruise, and his buddy Jon Favreau like fought for him. Like he said, like no, it's got to be Robert Downey Jr. Like it has to be, and that changed fucking cinema history. Like get out of here.
I don't want to be a part of the Tom Cruise Tony Stark.
No,
timeline.
I do not. I would not like that.
The Marvel Cruise universe. Yeah, no.
I don't want to Chrono Cross into that dimension, bro.
I don't know how much it should factor in, but just where Robert Downey Jr. was
absolutely
in his career at the time, and then just to be like become a darling, like an icon, just from this character and how well he pulled it off. And I said it before in earlier arguments for him, just launching the most successful thing ever in the MCU as a whole. He's just he's in a franchise just full of characters, and I know we brought that up too with Parks and Rec and things that are just great. He still rises above all of them. I think he has the best lines. His relationship with Peter is so great. His relationship with Cap, there's a full arc there. There's a full life there almost, in just a dozen movies or whatever that he's not always a main character in, but he's, strewn in throughout, and he's always important in some way. There's always something there that he's a part of, and he's either making terrible, huge decisions in like Ultron, or the most selfless decision ever in Endgame.
He's the Alpha and the Omega. He's the beginning and he is the end. Like it literally like full circles on itself with that with that story arc. Like you mentioned it a little bit, like Robert Downey Jr. He came off of like, I mean, he's an alcoholic. Tony Stark.
It was a risk for them to pick him.
Tony Stark in the comics was an alcoholic. A lot of the main storylines were like people like trying to like frame him like to say like, oh, Tony's off the wagon again, to try to like overthrow his company and shit. And like it's such a Cinderella story for like Robert Downey Jr. in the sense that like he was a gamble, he was a risk. It's like just like anybody in recovery, it's like it's a huge fucking gamble. Because all it takes is just one slip up and Marvel Cinematic Universe fucking falls through because all of a sudden you're replacing this major character. And God, he's just fucking like that whole entire like the MCU, man. It's just not the same without him. It's like fucking and of all people, Iron Man, you built this fucking universe. And the first brick you set was Iron Man of all the superheroes in
Right.
like Marvel Comics. They tried it with fucking Spider-Man. Sony had many a crack at like creating something glorious. Uh, you know, and like Spider-Man is like the fucking like Wonder Boy of like Marvel Comics. Like everybody fucking knows him, everybody fucking loves him. I skipped 8th grade to go see the first Spider-Man movie. Like it was
The
8th
entire
grade.
grade. Like he just
Yeah.
gave up
Yeah,
on
the
8th
whole
grade.
entire
It was
8th grade ditch day. I remember taking mad bong riffs before going to the movie theater. But now I was like an Iron Man of all fucking like heroes. And it's so funny because like it affected the whole entire like writing of like Marvel too. Like there's many like there's universes in Marvel, spoiler alert, we just got that with Loki. And but there's one specifically based off of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And like all the stories that come out of it are based off of those characters. To help control the flow of like comics, and they just sell well because people want to see those characters even like in a comic book medium. It's impressive what they've done, and I feel like they like fucking Iron Man, Robert Downey. It's like I feel like we're arguing for Robert Downey Jr. here sometimes too, but like Tony Stark's the fucking man, dude. Like, and he's just a dude. Like he is this guy in a suit amongst gods, juggernauts, uh,
People with superpowers.
tyrannical space tyrants that like can bleep out existence in a single snap. Like to the point where like he stopped it all, man. It's like that scene where like he's sitting there with the fucking, he's ready to do
That
it.
scene right there in the picture of the bracket.
Yeah, it's like holy fuck, man. It's like, and it was like the biggest payoff in cinematic history. Not just Marvel cinematic, history, but like nobody like in cinema, nothing had ever done that. That was the culmination of like over a decade's worth of work. And it fucking paid off. It was like the biggest money shot. Boom.
Yeah.
To me, there's no argument here. I'm sorry, Eric. Or whoever picked Nathan Drake.
No, so I think Nate's gonna get steamrolled here, and honestly, I love Nate, but I think
Nate's
it's
cool, man.
the right pick. Like I think it's. I want to speak on Nate just for a second, just to give him his due.
Absolutely.
Just because
Yeah,
he beat
absolutely.
Hank Scorpio in the first round. It is ironic once again, just like I said, it's kind of serendipitous how this bracket's gone. Is that Peter Parker, Tom Holland is going to play Nathan Drake, right, in the Uncharted movies. The son of
Allegedly.
Iron Man. If that movie ever
Pretty
comes
much.
out,
Surrogate.
I think that's just another little irony of this whole thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Nate's just so fun to play as. Like he's probably my favorite protagonist to play a video game as, just with his little quips and like Kayla said it. Me and her use that line all the time. But like, what is Tony Stark's superpower? It's bravery, and that's Nate's superpower too. Like, despite the odds, whatever, like despite how high up he is on a mountain or some ancient ruin or something, he's going to make that leap. He's going to jump. He's going to jump and
Get
shoot a
that
gun
treasure.
and somehow land in a plane and, just like defy death at every turn and do it all over again in the next game. Like everyone's been asking for a good Indiana Jones game for 30 years or something, and that's what Nathan Drake is. He's Indiana Jones, he's James Bond, he's like all of those characters in one package with hilarious like humor. Like I think those games are hilarious. Him and Sully going back and forth, and Nate's a lot of fun, and I hope Tom Holland can do something with that. But all that being said, I mean, Nate just does not have the impact that Tony Stark does. I mean, we've said it. Like it's
We love Nate, but
yeah. It's not fair.
Yeah. Uncharted 4 specifically is just such a fun experience.
Oh, yeah.
Really, you really get. And Eric, I don't know, maybe you'll disagree, but 1 through 3, Nate really is just kind of an indie stand-in almost. Would you say?
Yeah. I think compared to 4, definitely compared to 4.
Right.
Like there's
And
so much heart in 4.
4 really delves into Nate, like his relationship with Elena, his wife, his relationship to this life that he doesn't want to give up. Like he gave it up for a bit, he's got a 9 to 5 and it just keeps calling back to him. He just wants to find this, like like something great, and
like Goku, man.
he's pulled in by his brother. He wants to be done, but then his brother shows up and it's gonna save his brother.
Right.
It's just an excuse though, like
right.
They
figured it out.
And then you get this huge payoff with the epilogue, and you see that he's raised this family, and they found a middle ground of how to live that life of exploration and wonder, and still have that safe home life too, not living in danger.
Balance.
And it's a really good payoff too, but not compared to the Infinity War and Tony's story.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just another one of those. It's a tough draw. Anyone who is going to come up against Tony Stark, like Amy, like Nate now, that's a tough draw. It's going to be. I can't, in good conscience, say that Nathan Drake means as much to me over the last 10 plus years as Tony Stark did. That Tony Stark. Yeah.
And shout out to Nolan North for creating, bringing a voice to such an iconic character and really cementing himself as one of the voice actors.
Oh God,
that we
yeah.
have. So he's great.
Brought so many video game characters to life. Like he's done so much for that medium. Like the argument of whether video games can be art. I don't think it's an argument anymore.
No, not anymore.
Hasn't been for a while, but some people wanted to keep trying to fight that shit.
Yeah, fuck you, Roger Ebert.
Yeah. Play Shadow of the Colossus.
Video games still alive. Roger Ebert.
It's fucking dead. That's right.
Check and mate.
Okay.
Moving along.
Folks.
Yeah, Tony
Stark over Nathan Drake. Tony Stark coming into round 3. All right, so our next matchup is Gollum from The Lord of the Rings versus the Joker from the Christopher Nolan Batman universe, the Heath Ledger version of the Joker. Gollum was Ryan's pick, and I nominated the Joker. I can speak on both. I've both read and watched all of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I think Gollum is a super central character to those stories. Some of the best stories that have ever been written. Are some of my favorite movies of all time. Never really dug Gollum himself. Really impressed with Gollum on screen, like the CGI and the fact that that character, at least in a movie, the motion capture kind of was, we're talking 20 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
Still really holds up. I mean, it still really looks great, and it kind of revolutionized motion capture and became like Andy Serkis, the man who plays Gollum or does the motion capture, became the name in like a CGI character, and he's done so many, and it all started with Gollum.
Yeah, we wouldn't have the Nathan Drakes and the Joels and win games now without what Andy Serkis did for Gollum
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then he winds up in the MCU. You know, we've talked so much about the
Yeah.
MCU, and he's a major player in
Well,
some of those
Live
stories.
Andy Serkis.
Everything
So.
winds up in the MCU.
So I think Gollum needs his due as like just he's an important literary character, and he's, you know, those movies are just taken pretty much straight from the books. So he's an immensely important character, like
Yeah.
in multiple ways. But the Joker,
The Joker is an important character too.
right? And specifically the portrayal by Heath Ledger. Like I feel like that's the
Revolutionary.
Joker. That's
Oh,
the
yeah.
one, right? Like I mean, that's the Joker.
It's
I don't
one of
know.
the ones, but
Now.
I love Mark Hamill's Joker, but Heath's is the modern take on that villain for sure. He's not, just the clown prince
Yeah.
trying to take out Batman at any cost. He's something something more than that for sure.
Right.
With Heath.
He definitely cranked up the grittiness of the character in the comics as well.
Yeah, the notion of the Joker is just chaos incarnate, I think, it starts with that Heath Ledger and ends with it too. Like, I don't know.
Cinematic wise, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like so many big ideas and such a big like influence on that character from nothing. Like we don't know we never get his backstory. There's no origin. We don't really know who this Joker is in a lot of ways that we do know the other ones. We've gotten their backstory and everything else, and I don't think this Joker comes from the same place as the others. So I think the mystery around him, I've seen a lot of fan theories and stuff like, oh, he was a soldier from like Iraq or Afghanistan who, you know, has like severe PTSD and stuff like that. Yeah, you know, and it's like, yeah, that's believable, but he could also not be that whatsoever, you know.
Yeah.
and
At the time, those were very hot button topics as well. So
yeah. So I mean, I think once again, this is like a Nate versus a Tony, where like they're both cool characters, but Tony's got to win, right? Like the Joker's got to win this matchup, I think.
it was just such a it was such a good movie and such an excellent performance. I like the first part of the bracket when we were talking about these characters. We mentioned so many different like scenes that just stood out. It's a Batman movie, but like you're watching it for the Joker. You're watching it for Heath Ledger's, portrayal. I saw
Like
that movie.
the Christian Bale Batman, though. I do like
Yeah,
that.
the Bat Bale was good. Don't get me wrong. It's like let's just put it this way: I saw Batman Begins in theaters 3 times. I saw Dark Knight like 6 times in theaters.
That's twice as many.
Yeah.
Shit.
Anybody who wanted to see this movie like for the first time or like saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go see it," I jumped on board because like the experience was just that good, and I wanted to experience other people's first experiences with it as well because it never got boring. It never got old. I saw this at midnight release first. When it first came
I'd
out.
still watch
and
it today.
Yeah, like if they did another like midnight like showing of this, I would do that. Even though like I'm older now and staying up past midnight kind of sucks. But it was, and like I feel like to me that was like prime time cinematic experience. Like that was back like when it fucking mattered when you saw it in theaters. Now in a COVID world, it's like I do enjoy the convenience of just paying the entry fee on a streaming service, or if you got HBO, if you got the deal with HBO Max, holla at us, sponsor us, please. I don't gotta pay anything extra. I just get to watch it.
Or Christopher Nolan. Also, if you want to throw us a couple bucks, Mr. Nolan, I'd appreciate it.
Yes.
But,
he is not about the direct to TV thing, though.
No.
This isn't working together.
Whichever side you lean to, whoever wants to give us money, we love you. We'll lean harder to whichever side pays us. I'm not afraid to sell out for this podcast.
But I don't think we're leaning here. This is a clean Joker
Yeah.
sweep, right?
Clean
Okay.
break.
Oh,
Joker,
God, yeah.
yeah.
Clean
Sweep
break
the
for
leg, Joker.
Well, Gollum, you put up a good fight. You got into the second round, but the
Ooh.
Joker's the Joker.
Joker versus Tony.
Yeah.
Oh.
Next
Oh,
next matchup, we've got Ben Wyatt from Parks and Rec versus Phil Dunphy
Yeah, you
from
forgot there for a
Modern
second.
Family. Oh, this is a lot. This one's a lot for me.
Battle of the Dads. What up?
Ben Wyatt was a Tomas, right?
Yes, I went with the dark horse in an ensemble cast of so many great characters. I chose a Ben Wyatt. It's like I think I said it when I first argued him. He's the peanut butter to Leslie's jelly, or the waffle to her whipped cream, as I think Kayla mentioned.
yeah.
I just feel like so much of like Leslie's story is pushed by having him at her side. I love his little triumphant moments too. He's a man who's so dedicated to his work. He's very much like Leslie in the regards to the sense that like he doesn't know how to give himself anything good either. And they help each other, fight for each other to the point where like he would do anything for Leslie. It's like the moments where he quits his job to support her in every capacity that he can. He does his best to try to run her political campaign because he believes in everything that she does and that she stands for. It's like his love is unwavering. One of the many moments that Parks and Rec made me cry was, when they buy the home and he proposes to her in there. When he's, the moments where he's like, I'm willing to give up everything. It's like, I can't stay away from you. It's like, fuck the bureaucracy. It's like, I'm your man. And then there's also just all the goofy parts. Like, I love the cones of Dunshire. One of my favorite parts is when he first quits his job and like he goes into like trying to make claymation or like try to find himself. And he like plays like the 3-second clip of claymation.
There's got to be more.
He's like, that's it? It's like, no, you don't understand. I worked on that for weeks.
So good.
He's like, how did you know I was depressed? I didn't even know. The low-cal calzone zone. I still say that every time I see a calzone.
Yep.
My girlfriend orders calzones from this like Italian restaurant called Rufino's, and every time she orders one, I'm like, "Yo, it's the low-cal calzone zone."
Also, we'll take sponsors of calzone companies as well, please.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Eric also
resonate-
eats a lot of calzones.
I do.
I resonate a lot with Ben Wyatt's quirkiness, his neuroticism, his it's like
He's anxious.
his anxiety, his uncertainty, yet still having like the courage to push through, and a lot of that's because he has Leslie at his side as well. But it's like I can relate to a lot of those emotions too. I don't want to say Ben Wyatt's my spirit animal, but like if I had to choose like one character that I really, really latched onto, and I originally thought it was Chris Traeger because I was an athletic fanatic when I first started watching this show, and that, and I just loved one of my favorite quotes from Chris Traeger was like, "My goal is to run to the moon," but I just felt like I can relate to him the most. I love his character. He's wholesome. He's charming. He's flawed. But he's like
Got his quirky side, you know.
he's quirky.
Fun.
I love how he continuously turns down the accounting firm, but then he eventually gifts them the cones of Dunshire. It's like a parting gift. There's just so many moments that I enjoy. It's like I feel like he has a lot of good moments in the show. and I love his
I always
character.
loved how Ben was kind of the audience in the show as well, because he's the only one that can really see, like, man, these people are ridiculous here.
Yeah.
Like everyone that lives in this town is just such a caricature of the American citizen. And, like,
Well, like, and we grew
I
up
always
in
appreciate
Indiana.
that he could see it.
I grew up in Indiana, and the show does a very good job at portraying like some parts of Indiana. And like
Yeah,
now
maybe.
I live in Florida, and oh god, it's like just see it so like you mentioned it does such a good job at like portraying like certain parts of like the American populace, and like holy shit if I don't got that in droves in this state.
Phil was yours, right, Kayla?
Yes, Phil was my pick. Phil is
Dunphy.
my I'm gonna call him my favorite live action TV dad. Phil, I just want to be around Phil. I just want to spend time with him. He's happy, he's cheerful, he's a cheerleader, he's a magician. He just cares so much. He's we talked about Phil previously, and then Eric remembered that he's also like uh, a dirtball. He like makes a lot of sex innuendos and likes to have his alter ego Clive Bixby to like woo his woman, and he's just such a fun character. He's a joy when he comes onto the screen. I enjoy Phil Dunphy.
I'm so happy you said it that way, because what I was gonna say about Phil, a lot of like how Tomas said, like he sees himself in Ben. I see, at least I want to be Phil. If I don't see myself in Phil, I want to be him. He's just a clown. Like he just wants to make people laugh and like feel good, and like you said, yeah, he's got these little like sex innuendos and stuff. And anyone who knows me knows, got a little bit of that. But like, I I think one of the moments in Modern Family that I love so much about Phil is he's trying to like build this treehouse, and he just wants to be seen. There's so many instances of this. He wants to be seen as like a man, like a whatever, someone who could build a treehouse by himself. And there's so many instances of that where Phil's trying to prove himself in that way. And I just felt so seen there, because he just can't. Like he's not a handy dude. Like he fails miserably, but he makes like a friend doing it. He's like having a conversation with his like new neighbor and stuff, like, "Hey man, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing this thing." And I felt so like seen in that, like, because that would be me. That would totally be me, just up in a tree, not knowing what the fuck I'm doing, but like trying to make the best of it.
There you go.
I'd probably be much more angry than Phil, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, but because Phil rarely gets mad, and when he does, it's hilarious. In nature, he does. He just wants to be liked. He's always trying to get like Jay to like him, but then there are times where he's like, "Nah, Jay's a dick, and he's wrong, and I'm gonna tell him he's wrong." Like he can't treat people that way. I just love Phil.
This is like battle of like the two regular nice dudes.
Yeah,
Right.
they're both just dorks,
Right.
and they're not afraid to just be dorks.
Right, and I love them.
It's the best.
Oh, that's good. They're unafraid to be dorks. I think you're 100%
I think that's why I
right.
gravitate. Like, I like Phil Dunphy also. Like I gravitate towards characters like this because they make me feel more comfortable to just like be. I like when that's like portrayed in popular media.
Yeah, I think that's the
absolutely.
idea. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's definitely the idea in both characters. Like they're human in that sense. Like, yeah, maybe a little outrageous, a little off the wall,
Absolutely.
heightened, but like still you can see yourself in those characters, like we said we have. So
Yeah, like being able to wear your heart on your sleeve.
Both of them kind of altered maybe Phil more so, but just the idea of the TV dad. It's not like blue collar, work your 9 to 5, come home, Al Bundy type, Homer Simpson, Archie Bunker
It's
type.
so funny because, the guy
The old
he's trying to
archetype
impress-
is in Modern Family. Yeah.
Yes. It's like the guy
Right,
he's
yeah,
trying
exactly.
to please and, impress is literally Al Bundy.
And he plays a pretty, old school harsh character in Modern Family as well. But also
Yeah,
to bring up like
basically
the
too.
comparison to TV dads, like a lot of TV dads are like violently dumb. Like
Yeah.
they're just like
Yeah.
dumb.
Yeah.
They're funny, sure, but Phil is just so wholesome. He's just like you wish love my dad, respect on that. But God, you just want Phil to be around you.
Yeah.
You want Phil to be your dad. I understand.
I didn't want to say it.
No, I heard it. I got to the
Want him
It's
to be
nice-
around.
It's
See,
like
I
a
wish
nice
Phil was your dad, because then I wouldn't have to play the Phil role of like not knowing how to
Aw.
use tools.
I think it's a good commentary of like, just how not just TV dads in general, but like the generational like change to the ideas. Like, I am nowhere near as handy as my father was. My father built an addition onto the side of his house. He never took his car in to get the oil changed or change brakes or tires. I do know how to do most of the car stuff because of him, but like I just, it's like, and then you got, Phil and Ben, who are like, they're not that dude. Even to the point where like they do have counterparts like to their characters in the show. Like, you got, fucking Ron Swanson, he's the everyman. He can do everything. He doesn't need anybody's help.
Gonna pay taxes on an oil change.
Yeah, it's but like, and then you have these, softer characters. Not necessarily soft. They're just like they're different. But that's okay. And I think that's a huge part of what these shows convey. It's like, it's like you don't have to be any one archetype of like, what society may or may deem acceptable or may
Yeah.
or may not. This is a hard one. I picked Ben, so I'm picking Ben, but like I like both of these characters a lot.
Right.
I would take
Feel ya.
either one of them to the dance. So
It is
Yeah.
a tough one.
I'm going Phil. He beat my Adrian Veidt in first round, so it's kind of like if the guy who beats your character goes all the way, you feel good.
You
They
feel
go
a
to the
little-
final.
yeah,
The team who
yeah.
beats you, in the
Team of
first
Destiny.
round,
They were a team of destiny, man.
right? You feel good about it. So
the Pacers lost to the Bulls, so
right, yeah. It's that. It's that.
So it's not that bad.
Adrian Veidt's the Reggie Miller of this bracket. I got you. Yes.
You
Oh,
can
well,
have it.
I'm Phil.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, Mike.
For me, Phil is as soon as you've watched like the pilot for Modern Family, he's with open arms. He is like this character that, like Kayla said, like just goofy, fun loving. You want to be around him. You want him to be your dad. Ben doesn't start that way. I don't know if we mentioned that Ben kind of just sucks when he's first introduced. He's like this pencil pushing like accountant that is a foil to Leslie at first.
Yeah,
And
he doesn't seem
I just-
happy in his life.
Yeah, he's come from he was like a happy, fun loving type dude, and then made some decisions early on. Was elected to like a mayor of his hometown
Nice town.
as a teenager, and was a terrible decision.
Yep.
But just that you have to kind of fight through a little bit, and then it really
Ooh.
pays off with Ben, and you really get to see how awesome he is. I have to go with Ben. I see myself in Ben a lot, like Tomas said, and Yeah, I think we got another tie here. We're
Whoa.
going to post. It's a tough one.
Put it
Wow.
up. Put it up.
Okay.
Put it
Okay.
up.
I like it. So we'll have the fans decide Ben Wyatt or Phil Dunphy to get to the next round. All right, we've come to it. The final matchup in today's bracket of nonsense episode. We have Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men versus Joel Miller from The Last of Us.
Jesus,
Wow.
Joel.
Wow. And honestly, you could kind of flip flop these two characters in their like the universes that they come through from,
Yeah.
and and you
Yeah.
kind of
It is-
wind up in the same place a little bit.
A little bit. Who's better at
Um,
killing? I think is the argument goes on.
Well, we
That's a
see,
toss-up, man. I don't know.
yeah, we see Joel kill more people, but we have to assume Anton has
I mean,
done a lot off screen.
We've gotten more time to kill with Joel.
Yeah.
Yes,
We've had our hands on that control with Joel.
So
Yeah.
I think Anton was a double up, right? Me and Mike. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
What do you got, Mike?
I mean, Anton, man, he's just so cool. I know I say this a lot, but he's so cool. Like just the scene, like him and Josh Brolin's character are kind of trying to outwit each other throughout the movie, and just the scene where the shootout in the hotel, and he takes the bulb out in the hallway so that you can't see the shadow coming up to the door, and shoots the way he shoots the lockout with like his little pneumatic fucking cow killer or whatever you want to call that thing. And he's kind of like in the Joker, that idea of chaos and just allowing a coin flip to decide everything, and that you've been living your whole life just to come up to this moment and to this chance. It's just such a cool idea. Man, it's tough. Joel is just you get to see more of that journey with Joel, and more growth for sure. And where Anton is just hits the more primal parts of my brain, Joel hits primal parts, emotional parts.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I can have a strong enough argument for Anton against Joel here. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Joel, even with the time skip, like you're along for the ride. Like it's like that, even like at that short intro of that video game, and boy, do they fucking throw you in right away with that game.
Yeah.
Like you can understand that he's a single parent. He's a good parent. He's caring. Not necessarily perfect, but like they do such a strong job in like conveying like the relationship that he has with his daughter, like in such a short amount of time. Even with like his brother, like Tommy, and they even carry that over. They roll that over, and it's subtle at first, but like. And on top of that, like, yes, Joel's a badass. Yes, Joel is a killer, but he wasn't always these things. He's very much a product of his environment, and, like, it was like kill or be killed. And I can imagine, like, early on, there was, like, even the will to survive past that after losing his daughter right out the gate. Like, the fact that he still persevered and still pushed on and, just live, to me there's just more to a character with that. Like, it's like what pushes a man like that to continue moving forward, and like and then like you're in the steering wheel, like you are this character, like for that first game, and you get to break off the layers, you get to learn more about him, you get to learn that like he's just a broken man. He's like life's been hard, and he doesn't always make the right decisions, and it's like he's not killing just to kill necessarily. He's killing to survive, and he's, even towards the end, he's killing to do what he thinks is the right thing. Although, albeit like at the end, it's for selfish reasons. But like, it's like there's a character there. There's more than just like this guy who's chucking bricks at people's heads, and
Yeah.
know.
And both of these characters get horrific injuries at certain points, but man, when it happens to Joel, like
that rebar,
for me, your heart goes up into your like you just, oh my gosh, like holy shit, Joel needs to be okay.
Yeah.
We need to like save him. And then again later in the game, like for me, when you're they've taken Ellie to this hospital, and you're just a one-man wrecking crew trying to get. And I played that game. I read every note, listened to every audio file or whatever. I didn't stop for any of that shit. I was just so in tune with Joel's mentality.
Yep.
And having to get to that room wherever Ellie was and find her. It's just a strong experience that I haven't had a lot in games, and it's just so memorable for me. Joel's so good. I think he's the best part of that series. Having played through both, like I thought after Last of Us 1, I was like, oh man, it could be Ellie, it could be Joel. But the sequel really cemented it for me with Joel, like that he's
the man.
It comes completely full circle, and then maybe he does like a fucking 540. He goes beyond for me. And
yeah, we shouldn't have spoiled the skateboarding section of Last of Us 2. I don't think we should have done that. But
there's so many stick rails everywhere.
Grinding.
I think in this
for the apocalypse.
in this matchup, like it's such a matchup of like Chigurh's almost like a comic book character where he's just like he embodies fate, whatever. Like people I don't think exist in the real world like Chigurh, like he is like he's a psychopath, but like in like such a defined way. Like he's a psychopath who has this like quirk. I don't know like what way to do it. Whereas Joel, like you said, I mean, we get to see his whole life almost. And it's almost, you can put yourself in Joel's shoes. I can, at least, playing those games and like making those decisions, and maybe you would do what he did or not. But I can never put myself in Chigurh's shoes. It just seems like he's such a unique just being, like not even a human, just a being. Yeah, he's a Terminator.
He's a human Terminator.
He is.
Right. He doesn't feel pain. Like he gets he gets so messed up at certain points, and he doesn't even flinch. He doesn't even think like he feels pain. He just knows that he has to patch this up for him to survive. It's not even really a detriment to him.
That scene where he cuts the skin off of his robot arm and he puts on a glove.
I feel like Anton could do that. Like he could fucking expose his skeletal hand and still just continue to keep ticking, which is cool. It's fucking cool. Like, but Joel, I can't go against Joel here, even with Anton. I think Anton is a tough matchup for Joel still, but
yeah,
I voted for Anton. I kind of played the game where I knew someone. I wanted to have Joel on my list, but I knew someone would have him. I knew Eric specifically would have him. He didn't let me down in that respect.
Yeah, Eric that was a shoe fire for it. Like if you didn't pick that one, I would have been like, all right, we're redrafting. It's like, what the fuck?
Kayla, what do you got on this?
I haven't seen No Country for Old Men in a long time, but Joel is just, I think a part of it is too, you just get to play as him, you get to have him for such a long arc of seeing what happened, getting hints about what he's been through in the last 10 years, and then being him hard and cold to open up again and let someone in. So that's like just a really big moment to watch somebody go through, to play as somebody go through, and then you have to make tough decisions. And like Mike said, you just barrel through there. I mean, who's to say that they didn't kill her for nothing? I don't know. I don't want to make that decision. I don't want her to go through that. Like, I'm gonna rescue Ellie.
Yeah, I thought Joel made the right choice.
He did.
Yeah. And I think with this, Mike mentioned it in, I don't know if it was like for Chigurh or some other character, but like it's unfortunate for Anton that like we don't get to see enough. Like I would watch like a sequel
Spin-off.
or something, or a prequel
Origin
or
story
something,
or
an
something.
origin
Yeah.
story, right? Whereas Joel, we get everything. Like, there's no need to really do anything. Like, once Last of Us 2 is completed, you get to see Joel's entire story, his life, and everything else. And it's amazing. And you know, unfortunately for him, in terms of this bracket, you know, Anton didn't get to have that. We just kind of have to make up that story in our mind, and that's tough.
Yeah, I think the amount of text just
Yeah.
overcomes Anton. It's kind of it's Joel.
Yeah, Joel's just so revolutionary too in that game. It just was so pretty. It was so fun to play. It was the best game. It still holds up. It's hard to compete with something that was just so overwhelmingly enjoyable.
It was an experience.
Yeah,
Like it's like more than just a video game. Like it was like I was on a roller coaster ride, and you know, once that bar slid down on me, like I was on there for the whole thing.
I think that's the game that killed Roger Ebert, I think. Pretty
It may
sure.
have. I would like to think it was Shadow of the Colossus, but
We're giving Joel.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, Joel makes it to round 3 over Anton Chigurh. That is the end of this half of the bracket. So to recap, we have Leslie Knope, Cliff Booth, Ahsoka Tano, Tony Stark, the Joker, Joel Miller, and we have 2 spots that will be decided by the fans. So the fans will decide between Alucard and Big Boss, and they will decide between Ben Wyatt and Phil Dunphy. So that'll be that, and then we will get on to the next 8 matchups in the bracket of nonsense round 2. This was episode 41 of the Machine of Nonsense. We did half of round 2 of the bracket of nonsense. We had a lot of fun. We're going to get some fan votes going. So that's going to be a first ever in the bracket of nonsense. We'll be posting that to social media. You'll be hearing the results of that very soon. We ask you, as always, to join us on social media. Join our group Monstars on Facebook. We also have an Instagram and a Twitter. So leave us something there. You could also leave us a voice message at anchor.fm/machine of nonsense. We'd love to hear you, and we will put you on this pod. This was episode 41. For Mike, for Tomas, for Kayla, I'm your host, Eric, and we are saying goodbye.
Adios.